All right, let's go live here. Um,
There
there
we
we
go.
go. Got it set
What's
up
up?
now.
What's up, buddy?
What's going on?
Happy Monday. How you doing?
I'm great, and let's see if I can. Can't really turn this around, but I know you're at your first place, so I'll show you mine a little bit. Actually, I'll just go out there.
Nice. How long you guys up there?
We're actually leaving tomorrow, so we got here Saturday. Been doing a bunch of stuff since, and now enjoying it a little bit before we head out. So, what about you guys?
Same. I haven't decided if we're gonna go back tonight or tomorrow morning. I got a bunch of meetings tomorrow, um, and then I got to get ready for the webinar on Wednesday. So I got to make some tweaks to that tomorrow. So
That's right.
super pumped about that. If people haven't signed up yet, I'm sure we'll do a couple more posts about it. But on Wednesday at 2 o'clock Eastern, we're hosting a free live training. I do this once every couple months where we'll dedicate like a full 60 to 90 minute like deep dive training on how to launch, automate, and scale a short-term rental business. So these videos are nice and short and punchy with Mike here or on the podcast, but it's a different ball game when I can dedicate like a full like hour to an hour and a half to walk you through like how to really launch, automate, and scale a short-term rental business, walking through the different systems, how to choose a market, different strategies that you can get in even if you don't have money to buy deals, like all sorts of different things that we can cover on that when it's just a pure training. And we'll give you some different case studies and all that good stuff too. So you can go to strsecrets.com/webinar. I'll throw the link in the chat here while we're getting rolling. But what do we want to cover today, Mike, for Mindset Monday?
It's one of my favorite topics and something I've really adopted over the last year. If you can see my shirt, it's by a guy named Jocko Willink. One of his mottos is discipline equals freedom. But another one of his mottos in a video that he did, and I'll post the link to the comments here, is the the title of it is just good. That's it. And he talks about whenever there's a bad situation or there's a scenario or there's a nightmare or something's happened that you feel like just came out of nowhere, or you feel like it's adding up and a bunch of bad things are happening to you at once, there's going to be good to come out of that. So you have to find the good in these bad situations and just power through it. Don't quit, just power through it. So I really encourage people to just listen in for the next 5 or 10 minutes, but also go and watch that video. Jocko is a retired Navy SEAL. He was in the SEALs for at least 20 years, if not more. He's got his own podcast now. He's a real estate investor. He's a MMA, black belt. He's just a lot of different things. But the premise of this video is no matter what you're going through, what type of bad scenario you're going through, there's going to be some good to come out of it. So just finding that good inside of it. And I'll give you a small example, and this relates back to short-term rentals too. And it doesn't have to, but we were launching our 6th unit, which was our largest unit by far. We were doing a little bit of a burr and flip actually here in Brevard. And I remember talking to you, kind of venting a little bit of some things that had happened. And I just had to stroke a $10,000 check because our well went out. We didn't have any water while guests were staying there. And we were talking about it. I was talking to you. I was like, man, it's just bad thing after bad thing after bad thing after bad thing. And then we started thinking about, all right, what's the good that's going to come out of this? And then we started thinking about, one, the guests that we're going to serve, the guests that were coming the next week, the guests that were there, that were appreciative, that we were on it, very quickly for them so we could get water back to them. And we did. And the property's revenued in 6 months, or actually 5 months, has revenued $60,000. So that's some good that's come out of it, but it's hard to think about the good things right in that time, right? If it weren't for me calling you and also listening to a lot of Jocko's stuff in his video, like I could have easily taken that and it just spiraled and probably wouldn't have bought any more properties, probably wouldn't have co-hosted anymore, probably wouldn't add it to our business. So it's just finding different scenarios where, all right, this is something that's bad that's happening to me right now, but what's the good that's going to come out of it? What's the opportunity that's going to come out of it? And Mike, I know you've seen some interesting situations in short-term rentals, but also in life too, like with your son and a lot of different scenarios. But I want to see if, I know you've watched that video. I want to see if you have any examples as well to share.
Yeah, I think for me, the challenge that we have is when you're going through that stuff, you have no clue what the positive is going to be. But the key is to have faith that something positive will come out of it. You have no idea why. So, right, like, so in the example of like my son, when he was born, he had a very rare lung disease called interstitial lung disease. And basically, anytime he fell asleep, he needed to be on oxygen, he needed to be monitored. It was really scary. Like one morning we woke up and he was blue. Like it was crazy, like just crazy for like a year and a half. And I kept telling my wife, I said, I don't know why this is happening, but it's happening for a reason and we're going to get through it and we're going to come out stronger on the other side. And when I look back on all that, there were two positives that came out of it. One is it puts everything into perspective, right? You have a deal that goes sideways. You have a client that's pissed off at you. You have a guest that's pissed off at you. So what? Like at the end of the day, I didn't know if my kid was going to wake up. So what are you going to yell at me? Okay, you can yell at me. Like that type of stuff doesn't faze me anymore. Do I like it? Of course not. But it puts everything in perspective that if you think you're having a bad day, I promise you somebody else is having a worse day. Right? So it puts everything in perspective. But the second thing is this whole short-term rental thing would never have happened if my son wasn't sick. Because the reason I started this business was because we get to a point where, you know, I was working as an accountant making pretty good money, but when he was sick, we had to be in the hospital a lot. And at one point, I ran out of vacation time. I ran out of sick time. I had all these bills and I had to leave my wife and my son in the hospital to go back to my job. And I couldn't be there for them when they needed me the most. And I was like, I will never put my family in that situation again. And I told my wife, I said, I have no idea how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to build a business that gives us the income we want without ever trading time for money again. And that is what spawned this whole short-term rental business. This was the first property that we ever got. My wife and my son are inside right now. We bought this as a family. I pulled a loan out of my 401k because I didn't have the money for a down payment. And we said, all right, we're going to use this as a family every single month. And when we're not using it, we're going to rent it out and give this short-term rental thing a shot. And when it worked, that was the spark. And then, you know, within a year and a half, I was out of my job. She was out of her job. My mom, I got to retire my mom. She actually owns one of these over here now with my dad. And that gave them the vehicle to quit her job. So like, if I hadn't gone through that, I never would have had that kick in the ass to go and build something with short-term rentals. I honestly don't think it would have ever happened. And if we didn't go through all those crazy turbulent times of like just stress beyond belief, not sleeping for like a year and a half, like it was insanity, this never would have happened. And so anytime now I'm going through stuff in business, whether it's a bad guest or a cleaner quits on you or whatever it is, it's like, okay, good. That means it's making room for something better.
Right.
Good. Like I will figure this out just like I figure everything out. And it just builds that muscle inside of you to stop playing victim and to go out and figure out, okay, I don't know why this is happening, but I'm going to come out stronger. So let's get it together and like start putting foot to ass and get into gear. And it's just a big wake up call. But if I took that situation with my son and I played victim, I'd still be working a corporate job right now. I would not be up here. I would not be doing this live with you. I wouldn't have the podcast. I wouldn't have the mastermind group. I wouldn't have Accelerator. I wouldn't have any of this stuff. But I took an opportunity, as much as it did not look like an opportunity at the time, and all these fruits came out of that. And I'm fortunate now that my son's healthy and everything. But like, I didn't know like what was going to happen out of that. I just knew that that was like the kick in the ass that I needed. So, moral of the story is you're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days. The question is do you want to choose what kind of good days and bad days you have? And are you going to play victim or are you going to step up and handle it and take care of business? So,
Yeah. I mean, the two things you said there, perspective. It's all about your perspective and your look on things. The Olympics finished yesterday. America finished number one in gold medals and number one in overall medals. And we have such an opportunity just living in this country, just being born here. We are kind of have a leg up on the rest of the world just by literally just by being born here. So what's your perspective on life? How like my when interesting things or when bad things are going on now, I'm thinking more like my perspective is more on the bigger picture. And I I don't know exactly what that bigger picture is going to look like, what 15 years is going to look like, but I know it's going to be involved with my family. I know it's going to be involved with helping other people. Like that's it. So when little things come up now, whether it's a $10,000 check I got to pay or the cleaner quits on me or the cleaner's complaining about something or guest complaining about something, like it's just putting things in perspective and not getting down and just pushing through those things. The second thing that stood out to me in what you said there was a spark. Like when your son when you didn't have any more vacation days, you didn't have any more sick days, and you're in the hospital, there was that spark. And I, you know, I know it's an easy thing to point, but like, yes, there was a spark that day, but it wasn't really that day that has made you to where you are now. Like it was the day after that, and the day after that, and the day after that, and the continuous building. Like, yes, it was a spark that day, but the next day you could have the spark would have just somebody could have thrown water on it, and the spark could have gone away. So how did you consistently think back to that spark, to push through?
it's what we talked about early on in this. It created. Tony Robbins talks about like two ways to change like your limiting beliefs. One of them is through like affirmations and a lot of stuff that we've been talking about. The other one is through a triple E, extreme emotional event. That was an extreme emotional event in my life. And I just held on to that as like my fire, where it was like, if I didn't feel like getting up and analyzing deals, okay, well, at the time, I was still having to leave my wife and my kid every day. So that was like my fuel. I was like, I will make this happen no matter what, period. I had this drive, this fuel. And you see it a lot with people like have like really tough upbringings. Somebody like an Oprah Winfrey, like if you ever hear Oprah's story, it's brutal. It's brutal. Like she had a horrible upbringing and just terrible stuff happened to her when she was young. And she turned that into fuel. And now she's one of the most influential people that's helping millions of people every single day, right? Or you look at somebody else that goes through some trauma and they just completely implode and they end up in jail or dead or on drugs or whatever. What's the difference there? I mean, they both went through a ton of shit. What's driving one versus what's crushing the other one? It's the same event, but it's how you perceive it. And I think for me, it went back to faith. And this is not a religious episode by any means, but if you have some higher power, I don't care if you call it God, Buddha, Jesus, Allah, I don't care whatever you call it, like having faith that that power is going to pull you through whatever it is, that's just molding you to become a bigger and better version of who you are now. So again, if life was easy, it's just like you see people that may win the lottery or do whatever, like they don't get the same respect as somebody that's busted ass to get to where they are because they didn't feel the pain, they didn't put in the work, they didn't overcome the obstacles. It's the same in life. Like when life throws you obstacles, just Joe Rogan talks about be the hero of your own movie, right? Like if you're if you're going through some ups and downs, how would your hero handle that situation? Would they fold? Would they play victim? Or would they step up and keep moving forward every single day, no matter what? You get the choice to be the hero in your own movie every single day. Are you going to take that opportunity, or are you just going to squander it because whatever reason? So we all have ups
Yeah.
and downs. Some of us, like, we're all dealt the cards that we're dealt. What hand are you going to play with those cards? Like, at the end of the day, and it's easy to point fingers. It's easy to blame him or her or this movement or that political party or whatever it is. But at the end of the day, you're in the driver's seat of your life. So, you're not a tree. You don't like it, move. Like, it's that simple. But like,
Yeah.
don't give up that power. You're in the driver's seat. You decide where you're going. You decide who you're going to be and what you're going to be. So just do it. It's literally that simple. Like, you have that power to do it, but it's all
Yeah.
your perception.
Yeah. Everybody is, we all have unique abilities and disabilities as well. You know, everybody's unique. And I love the movie analogy. Like, we literally get to create our own movie. We get to create the characters. We get to create the settings. We can create how it's shot, how long it is. And I feel in movies, oftentimes they talk about happily ever after and what that looks like. We get to create our own happily ever after. There's not going to be this like aha moment where there's happily ever after, but we get to create in our movies. And it's all about the perspective that we have on our life and who we surround ourselves with and what we want to get out of it, who we want to help, who we want to serve. And I just love talking about this stuff, and it's helped me out so much. And I just hope we can pass it on. If we can help one person who listened to this or caught this and pass it on, that's huge. So
I'm gonna don't mind if I spoil a lot of the plot lines here, but if you look at any like massive box office hit, any major movie, the theme is always the same, and it's known. I forget the guy's name, but he's a big writer for Hollywood, and he's written some books. I can't think of his name off the top of my head. But the plot line for every major movie, it's called the hero's two journeys, right? So there's typically some type of external thing that the person is going towards. Like, they're trying to hit some type of external goal. But woven into the story is this internal journey of that person evolving into a different person over the course of that story. And then at the end of the story, whether or not they hit the external goal, they always hit the internal one. And if you watch any movie now, you'll see these two journeys going on. And it could be, I always bust Kristen and my mother-in-law's chops. They love those like Lifetime movies, right? It's always like there's some event that's going on, and they meet some guy, and then they have this like internal shift of like being the rich stockbroker in New York or whatever, coming back home to the small town, and then they realize like what was important to them internally, right? And it's this whole thing. It's super predictable when you watch the movies, but a lot of the Disney movies I watch with my son, it's the same thing. Like, the hero in the story is going through some type of external journey, whether they have to, go to some distant land to conquer a kingdom or whatever it is, but internally they become a different person along the way. It's the same for us. Like, we're all going to have that we'll have these external goals, but like I've said over and over again, the purpose of hitting the goal isn't always to get the goal. It's to become the person you need to be to hit the goal. Because if you do that, you can hit any goal. Like, it's why, like, you watch super successful people, they could go bankrupt, they'll be crushing it again within a couple of years because they've had that internal journey and they've created that new identity for themselves, and they just operate at a different level. So take those things. Like, I'm going through it right now. We've got some growing pains in the company. Like, we've been blowing up, and just getting all the right pieces in the right place. There's certain days, even this morning, like, I'm on vacation and there were a couple things that came up. I'm like, why am I dealing with this right now? Right. But if I go back to my why and what I'm doing, like, that's an opportunity for me to level up, for my team to level up, and just shift into this next phase of what my company looks like. Or I could just play victim and bitch that, why am I working on my day off? Why am I, it'd be easy to do that. And I can feel myself slip into that sometimes. But that's why I surround myself with people like Mike and a lot of people in my circle that will like catch me on that stuff and be like, dude, back on the path. Let's go. Right? And just snap you out of it.
Yeah. I'll go back to my junior tennis days. I know I've said it on this, like I played tennis professionally, through juniors and whatnot, but looking back, there's a lot of things that I kind of laugh about because I learned from them. But the way that I would talk, like when things are going bad, when things are going good, it's fine. I won a lot of matches, but when things are going bad, some of the ways I would talk to myself, like I can't believe whatever, like I can't believe this person did this, or I can't believe that ball was out, or I can't believe, I was training my mind to be the victim, a victim of somebody else, the victim of myself as well. So looking back on that and seeing and knowing that now and being aware that like, that's not how I get what I want. I get what I want by accepting what's going on, changing it, and creating my own story. But man, it's perspective, finding the good and having faith to get through the bad. And I know we've talked a lot about that in the last 20 minutes, but any parting thoughts or parting words for everybody?
No, again, it's like nobody likes the challenges. Nobody enjoys like the pain and the struggle. But when you're looking back, that's what makes a story so damn good, right? So again, going back to the Joe Rogan thing, like be the hero of your own movie. Like if you think like that, if you're gonna be that person, just start thinking like that and remember that. So the next time you have some challenge, business, personal, health related, be the hero of your own movie. And just follow that and you'll be good.
I love it. Well, we got tomorrow we got Mike and Mike Tuesdays. We're talking about why cleaners are the lifeblood of this business, how to communicate with them, how to compensate them, how to treat them with respect and in the right ways, and what they'll give you in return to make this business as profitable and really as a win-win for both us, the investors, and also them, the cleaning team. So I'm excited about that. And then you already talked about our webinar. I think you put it here in the comments. But yeah, man, this was fun. Thanks again. Anything else?
That's it, man. That's it. So again, just take it, implement it, tune back in tomorrow. Definitely sign up for the webinar. I think Zoom caps us at 100 people. So there's 2,000 people in this group. There's way more than that just on our email list and podcast listeners and everything else. So it will fill up. So just sign up for that. If you don't make it live, I'll get you the recording, but try and get there live. Don't try, just get there live, because then you'll be able to ask us your questions. We'll be able to go deeper. And I know for me, like if I miss a live one, I tend not to catch the whole recording. Like I'll watch it piecemeal sometimes, or sometimes I just completely forget. So just show up live on Wednesday at 2:00 Eastern. Go to strsecrets.com/webinar to sign up for that. We only do this about once every 2 months. So show up, and we're into Q3 now. So if your goal starting the year was to get into this business or add X number of units and you're not there yet, show up, because we're going to show you exactly how to do it. So as always, appreciate you, buddy. We'll see you tomorrow.
All right. Thanks.
Take care, everybody.